Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell has told his party's conference that voters in Scotland who are against austerity should come home to Labour. The MP was addressing delegates 4 months after the general election, which saw Labour lose 40 of its 41 Scottish seats. Left-winger Mr McDonnell said he was devastated by the results north of the border. The politician went on to say that his was the only anti-austerity party. For those in Scotland who want to campaign against austerity, now is the time to come home to Labour. John McDonnell, Shadow Chancellor. Mr McDonnell insisted that Labour's plans for economic growth would reach all regions and all nations of our country. He also criticised the Scottish National Party. Mr McDonnell told the conference, "Let's be clear, the SNP has now voted against the living wage, against capping rent levels, and just last week voted against fair taxes in Scotland to spend on schools. So, here is my message to the people of Scotland: Labour is now the only anti-austerity party. For those in Scotland who want to campaign against austerity, now is the time to come home to Labour. Fair share of taxes." Elsewhere in his speech, Mr McDonnell announced that Labour would launch an aggressive drive to ensure that multinational corporations like Starbucks, Vodafone, Amazon, and Google paid their fair share of taxes. He added that Labour's strategy would be based on growing the economy by strategically investing in key industries and sectors. Scottish Labour leader Kezia Dugdale has also been highlighting business and economics at the conference in Brighton. She insisted that her party needed to develop a renewed relationship with those who generate the wealth Scotland needs to make our country a fairer place to live. Labour came under attack from businesses during this year's general election campaign after pledging to freeze energy prices, break up high street banks, and place workers on executive remuneration boards. In contrast to that, Ms Dugdale said she wanted entrepreneurs to see Scotland as a good place to do business. She made the comments ahead of an address at the Guardian Fringe event. Earlier, Labour's shadow Scottish Secretary Ian Murray reiterated his stance against the renewal of Trident nuclear weapons. He told BBC Radio Scotland's Good Morning Scotland programme, he said, "My position on Trident has not changed. I will not support the renewal of Trident. My party leadership has changed, my party is changing, the Scottish Party is changing. My view on Trident has not changed. I will not vote to support it. I have had the view for a long time." Jeremy Corbyn holds that view. "If we all supported the same position, it would make democracy a much less important part of British life. We should welcome the debate." The SNP said the Shadow Chancellor had offered Scotland nothing new from Labour as he continued to commit the party to voting for George Osborne's austerity plans. SNP Deputy Leader Stuart Hosey MP said, "Mr McDonnell's comments confirm that when it comes to Scotland, Labour haven't changed. Rather than learning from their mistakes and setting out a positive vision for the country, they are repeating the same negative and ill-informed rhetoric that saw them all but wiped out in Scotland at the last election. They may have changed the messengers, but it's the same tired old message. Labour's economic plans are all over the place." While the SNP went into May's election opposing austerity and campaigning for a real terms increase in public spending, Labour ran scared of the Tories and backed their draconian cuts and welfare reforms. While the SNP remain firmly opposed to George Osborne's pro-austerity fiscal charter, John McDonnell just last week mandated Labour MPs to troop through the lobbies with the Tories yet again to back the plans, just as they did when they voted for £30 billion of cuts in the last Parliament. Labour have now lost all credibility and no one will take these claims.